Imagine two friends who graduate from the same college, get similar jobs, and earn almost the same salary. 20 years later, one of them is financially free, living life on his own terms, while the other is buried in debt, constantly worried about money. What happened? Was one of them smarter? Did one work harder? Or did one simply get lucky? Surprisingly, the answer is none of those. According to one of the most influential books ever written about personal finance, the biggest factor behind wealth isn't intelligence, education, or even income. It's psychology. The way you think about money determines the way you use it. And the way you use it determines the life you eventually build. Most people spend years trying to earn more money, but very few spend time learning how money actually works, or why humans make such irrational financial decisions. That's why millions of readers around the world were fascinated by The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. This book isn't about stock market tricks, complicated investment strategies, or becoming rich overnight. Instead, it reveals something much deeper. It explains why intelligent people often make terrible financial decisions, why ordinary people quietly become millionaires, and why success with money has far less to do with what you know than with how you behave. Because the truth is simple. Money is never just about numbers. It's about emotions. It's about habits. It's about fear, greed, patience, and the stories we tell ourselves every single day. And once you understand these hidden forces, you'll never look at money the same way again. So, in the next few minutes, we'll uncover the most powerful lessons from this life-changing book. These ideas have helped millions of people rethink wealth, success, and financial freedom. Whether you're a student, an entrepreneur, someone working a 9-to-5 job, or simply trying to build a better future, these lessons can completely change the way you think about money. So sit back, stay until the end, and let's discover the psychology behind wealth. Morgan Housel is an award-winning financial writer who spent years studying not only markets, but also human behavior. During his career, he noticed something fascinating. The people with the highest IQ weren't always the richest. Many financial experts lost fortunes. At the same time, ordinary people with average incomes quietly built incredible wealth over decades. Why? Because financial success isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about consistently making good decisions and avoiding bad ones. As Morgan Housel writes throughout the book, money is more about behavior than knowledge. You don't need to predict the future. You don't need to beat everyone else. You simply need to understand yourself. Throughout this summary, you'll discover 10 powerful lessons that can completely transform the way you think about earning, saving, investing, and spending money. And the first lesson might be the most surprising of them all. No one is crazy. Let's find out why. Have you ever looked at someone else's financial decision and thought, how could anyone be that careless? Maybe you've seen someone spend thousands of dollars on a luxury car even though they're drowning in debt. Or perhaps you've wondered why some people refuse to invest, even when everyone says it's the smartest thing to do. At first glance, these decisions seem irrational. But Morgan Housel argues that almost no one believes they're making bad decisions. Instead, every financial choice is shaped by personal experiences. Think about it. Someone who grew up during a financial crisis may see money very differently from someone who grew up in a stable economy. A person whose family struggled to pay bills may value saving every dollar. Another person who never experienced financial hardship might feel comfortable taking big risks. Neither person is crazy. They're simply reacting to the world they've experienced. Our relationship with money is built long before we earn our first paycheck. It's shaped by our childhood, our family, our culture, and the events we live through. That's why two intelligent people can look at the same investment and come to completely different conclusions. And both can honestly believe they're right. The problem begins when we assume that our own experiences represent the entire world. But they don't. Everyone is playing a different financial game. The first lesson of this book is simple. Before judging someone else's financial decisions, remember that they're making choices based on experiences you'll never fully understand. And the same is true for you. Understanding this makes you less emotional, more patient, and ultimately better at making your own financial decisions. Now imagine two entrepreneurs. Both start businesses with incredible ideas. Both work 16-hour days. Both sacrifice weekends, vacations, and time with their families. 10 years later, one becomes a billionaire. The other loses everything. Did one work harder? Not necessarily. This is where Morgan Housel introduces one of the most powerful ideas in the entire book. Luck and risk always play a bigger role than we like to admit. We love stories about successful people because they make success seem predictable. We hear about famous investors, business founders, and billionaires, and we assume that if we copy their habits, we'll get the same results. But life doesn't work that way. Every success story contains an element of luck, and every failure contains an element of risk. That doesn't mean hard work isn't important. It absolutely is. But hard work alone doesn't guarantee success. Sometimes the right opportunity appears at exactly the right moment. Sometimes unexpected events change everything overnight. Recognizing the role of luck keeps us humble when we succeed. Recognizing the role of risk helps us stay compassionate when others fail. Instead of believing that success is completely under our control, we should focus on the things we can control: our habits, our patience, our discipline, our willingness to keep learning. Because while luck may influence the outcome, good behavior dramatically improves the odds over the long run. And that's exactly how lasting wealth is built. Imagine you've spent years building your career. You finally buy your dream house. You drive the luxury car you've always wanted. Your bank account has more money than you ever imagined. For a moment, it feels like you've made it. But then something changes. A friend buys a bigger house. A coworker gets promoted. Someone on social media starts living a lifestyle that seems even more luxurious. Suddenly, what once felt like success no longer feels enough. This is one of the most dangerous traps in personal finance. Morgan Housel calls it never enough. Human beings naturally compare themselves with others. The problem is that there will always be someone richer, someone more successful, or someone living a more extravagant life. If your definition of success depends on keeping up with others, you'll never truly feel wealthy. History gives us powerful examples. Many people who already had hundreds of millions of dollars kept taking bigger and bigger risks because they wanted even more. Some lost everything. Not because they needed more money, but because they believed they could never have enough. Greed doesn't always begin with poverty. Sometimes it begins with success. The hardest financial skill isn't making money. It's knowing when you already have enough. When you understand what is truly important to you, it becomes easier to ignore the endless race for more. Real wealth isn't about owning everything. It's about needing less to feel satisfied. Because the moment you stop comparing your life with everyone else's, money becomes a tool instead of a competition. Now let's talk about one of the greatest forces in finance. Imagine placing a tiny snowball at the top of a snowy mountain. At first, it barely moves. It seems too small to matter. But as it rolls downhill, it picks up more snow. It grows larger, then larger still, until it becomes impossible to stop. That's exactly how compounding works. Most people think wealth is created through huge salaries, lucky investments, or brilliant business ideas. But Morgan Housel explains that lasting wealth is usually built through small, consistent actions repeated over many years. A person who saves and invests regularly for decades often ends up with far more wealth than someone who earns a high income but constantly spends everything. Compounding isn't exciting in the beginning. In fact, it's often boring. For years, progress may seem almost invisible. Many people quit because they don't see immediate results. But those who stay patient eventually reach a point where growth begins to accelerate. That's why time is often more valuable than perfect timing. The earlier you start making smart financial decisions, the more opportunity compounding has to work in your favor. And this idea applies to far more than money. Good habits compound. Knowledge compounds. Relationships compound. Small daily improvements may seem insignificant today, but over the course of years, they can completely transform your life. The greatest financial advantage isn't earning more than everyone else. It's giving your good decisions enough time to grow. Patience is often the hidden secret behind extraordinary wealth. Many people dream of becoming rich, but very few think about staying rich. Making money often requires taking risks, working hard, and seizing opportunities. Keeping money requires a completely different mindset: patience, discipline, and humility. History is full of people who made millions but lost everything because they believed success would last forever. Morgan Housel explains that long-term wealth isn't about making one great decision. It's about avoiding one disastrous mistake. Sometimes, protecting your money is more important than multiplying it. Most people save for a house, a vacation, or retirement. But life doesn't always follow a plan. Unexpected opportunities and emergencies appear without warning. Having savings gives you options. It gives you confidence. It gives you peace of mind. Money in the bank isn't just financial security. It's freedom to make better decisions when life changes. The best time to prepare for uncertainty is before it arrives. Ask most people why they want more money, and the answer is usually the same: freedom. The freedom to choose where to live. The freedom to spend time with family. The freedom to say no to work you don't enjoy. According to Morgan Housel, this freedom is the highest return money can provide. The goal isn't to impress others. The goal is to control your own time. Imagine someone driving an expensive sports car. Most people think everyone is admiring the driver, but in reality, they're imagining themselves driving that car. People rarely admire our possessions as much as we think. They simply use them to imagine their own dreams. Buying things only to impress others is an endless game. Instead of chasing status, build a life that genuinely makes you happy. Real confidence comes from financial security, not from showing off. Life is unpredictable. Markets crash. Businesses fail. Unexpected expenses happen. That's why successful people always leave room for error. Don't invest every dollar. Don't depend on everything going perfectly. A safety margin can protect you from mistakes and uncertainty. One of the biggest financial mistakes is comparing yourself with others. Everyone has different goals, different responsibilities, and different dreams. Don't play someone else's game. Create a financial plan that matches the life you truly want. Success isn't having more than everyone else. Success is having enough for the life you choose. The greatest lesson from the psychology of money is simple. Building wealth isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about making good decisions consistently, staying patient, avoiding unnecessary risks, and letting time work in your favor. Money is a tool. Used wisely, it can buy freedom, security, and peace of mind. As Morgan Housel reminds us, financial success is more about behavior than intelligence. If you change the way you think about money today, you may completely change your financial future tomorrow. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this summary and want more life-changing books explained in simple English, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know which book you'd like to explore next.